chapter 8,
1 through 6.
Okay, 1 through 6. Does not wisdom call out? Does not understanding raise her voice? On the heights along the way where the paths meet, she takes her stand. Beside the gates leading into the city, at the entrances, she cried aloud. To you, O men, I call out. I raise my voice to all mankind. You who are simple, gain prudence. You who are foolish, gain understanding. Listen, for I have worthy things to say. I open my lips to speak what is right.
Okay. Does not wisdom cry out? Does not understanding raise her voice? They're personifying wisdom, giving it human characteristics. But does wisdom cry out? Or do we have to go get it? Is the motion of activation on wisdom's part or on our part?
Our part.
I got an our part.
Both.
Our part.
Okay, I got a both. She doesn't want to take a side.
I do think both.
Anybody else?
We have to seek out wisdom
Yeah.
to be able for it to come to us.
Okay, I've got a our part.
Kind of middle of the road.
Well, we seek it out, but I mean, I think God shows us where the wisdom is. We have to have Him show us to
But
it.
you also have to have enough common sense to take it to. People in this world that don't.
But you're talking about after you have it.
Why don't you just tell us?
I'm
We'll go a lot further.
talking about the initial move. Whose part is it? Is it wisdom's part to pull us, or is it our part to find wisdom? What does this indicate?
Gotta find it.
Huh?
We gotta find it.
We got to find it, but what does this indicate? Who calls out?
Wisdom.
Wisdom. Who raises her voice? Wisdom. How's that work? How much money have we spent on the pursuit of wisdom over the course of 6,000 years of human history?
Not much, apparently. Get what you pay for.
Well, it goes back to what Josh said. You got to have a little common sense once you find it, okay? But think of all the trillions, billions and billions of trillions of dollars just in 1 year of college fees that millions and millions of people, and you're about to find out.
Yeah.
That people throw into these universities, and how much do the deer spend? Or the rabbits? Or the butterflies that migrate to Venezuela the monarch butterflies that migrate to Venezuela every year? How much do they spend? Or the Canadian geese that know when to get up, when to fly, find the exact same location. Have you ever been to a place and wished you could go back again, but you didn't remember how you got there? Yeah, me, it's just worse, and it gets worse every day. I remember this great dish I had somewhere when I was younger, and I would give anything to go back and try it again, but I don't even remember what city it was in, And the geese, I had a cardinal that nested in the exact same nest every year for 5 years. The limb was right in front of our bedroom window. And every morning at 5 o'clock he would fly up and peck himself in the window and wake us up.
Had 6 Canadians back on Mom and Dad's pond yesterday morning.
Spring is coming. How do they know to get back? How do they know where to come to? How do they know? And it doesn't cost them a dime. So it's there.
Yeah.
But does it call out to us? If it didn't call out to us, why would we spend millions of dollars to go find it? If it wasn't like a magnet that was pulling us in, wouldn't we just be happy to sit at home and eat out of our garden and mimic the neighbor? And why do we care what is beyond the solar system?
I know.
Well,
Me neither.
That out there ain't gonna benefit me none.
Yeah, but
Heaven is,
but
but
aren't
not the
you
solar system.
but aren't you interested in something that don't you like gardening? You're always asking me questions about gardening.
Yeah, I'm interested in that.
Yeah, and you're always trying to find a better way to do it and how to grow. You know, I taught you how to grow an 8-foot tomato plant. Now you want a 10-footer.
I already had 16-footers.
So next year it's going to be 18. You know. Why can't we be happy like the deer with having a field to graze in and a stream to drink out of and a tree to sleep under?
It's human
Why
nature.
does it have to be?
It's human nature because we feel like there's some inside everybody, you feel the need to progress because we've got it beat in our head that if you don't progress, you'll stagnate.
Okay, now you put it on a spiritual level, but I'm going to take exactly what you said and put it on a spiritual level. The bottom line is there's a homing device created in us to pull us to God. And isn't that where true wisdom is?
Sure.
And didn't he say in the first chapter of Romans, I put my very essence in everything I created so that you would have no excuse so you could find me? There's a homing beacon inside of us. But the homing beacon is not what moves us. It's the call that moves us and pulls us to understand the deeper things, because the deeper things will eventually lead us face to face with Jesus Christ and God the Father. Because if we find true wisdom, can it be any other place than from the throne of God? Yeah. A lot of you have been to college or taken courses and whatever, and how stable is true wisdom at the Bloomington level? Why do you think they revise textbooks every 3 or 4 years? Because they either found out they were wrong or they found another piece, and their view gets bigger and bigger and bigger. I remember when I was in school, there was protons, neutrons, and electrons, and that was an atom. Now there's 12 different kinds of protons. I looked at my daughter's high school physics book, and I didn't recognize anything. And I've got a minor in earth sciences from Purdue. You know, it's like, what is all this? And I'm not that old. But it all changed. Everything has changed. It's totally changed. Why did it change? Because we had human wisdom, and we found out that we either didn't have pure wisdom or we didn't have it all, and we had to keep adding and keep adding. But the pure wisdom comes from the throne of God. You ask God about Adam, and he can give you the whole answer, and he can give it to you now. You're not going to have to wait 50 years to change the textbook.
I don't think there's much wisdom in the 4th grade math book. We can tell you that
Say
for
what?
certain. There's not very much wisdom in a 4th grade math book anymore. There's not, 75 times 100. There's 1 and all these names we can't pronounce.
I can't even
Why is
do
this
that.
answer reasonable?
Yeah.
I love that one. It's
Explain,
like, what do you mean
yeah,
reasonable?
Explain your answer. It's math.
Numbers don't lie.
Yeah, there'll be 4 answers and 3 of them will be right, but which one's the best one?
Yeah.
Like,
And Ethan Clay
like
Edwards
Levi
has an
said,
absolute
no
fit.
I don't even want to know what you're talking about.
True.
But you come by at 3:30 every day.
I know what you're talking about. They would rather have them estimate than know the answer now for some reason. What's behind that? How do if you're re-entering the atmosphere in a space capsule, do you want precise math, or do you want somebody to estimate whether you're going to hit the ocean or hit the continent?
Yeah, I'd say guesstimate.
Get a little warm in here. It'll be all right.
Take a shot, right?
Yeah.
Now, true wisdom calls us, and something in us responds to it, and we spend billions and billions and billions of dollars searching for it, don't we? Don't our own actions prove that to be true? If it weren't calling us and if we weren't responding to that call, we'd have a whole bunch of money in the bank. And,
Well, I don't know your government.
IU wouldn't be doing near so good. Amen or no me? Do you agree or not agree? All right. Beside the gates leading to the cities, entrances to the cities. Do you know what happened at the gates of the cities in the morning in Israel?
Men would gather.
Every morning except the Sabbath.
Men would gather.
Hmm?
The men would gather and talk.
Okay, yes.
That
But
happens at the McDonald's now. That happens at the McDonald's every morning.
Are they golden arches?
there's a big sign.
Gateway to obesity.
Liar's
Liar's
bench.
bench, exactly.
That's the gateway to obesity now.
If you go into Dairy Queen and go in the door and you look back to the right where the restrooms are, over on the right, there's a big table there, and right above it, it says Liar's Bench. And the same people are sitting there every single morning of the week and having their coffee, and they're retired and whatever. But the elders were required to be at the gates of the city at daybreak. And if I had a dispute with Matt, or if you had a dispute with Jordan, you would take it to the elders, and the elders would give you advice, or they would give you what should have been wisdom from God's Word. They would settle property disputes. If Josh wanted to know a better way to grow grapes or make sweeter wine, he could take that to the elders in the morning. That was the place at the very beginning of the day where the elders would meet for 2 or 3 hours, and anybody in the region could come and ask them questions, settle disputes, get advice, and get things straightened out. And why the elders?
Because they're the wisest.
They should have been the wisest.
Yeah.
They should have been the wisest. Okay. Not all old people are wise, however.
Harry Russell.
I did see a quote. I saw a quote the other day that said, "Stupid people get old too."
That's what happened at the entrances. And because they were elders, you should have been able to have gotten wisdom there. Okay? To you, old men, call out, raise your voice to all mankind. You who are simple, gain prudence. Who you are foolish, gain understanding. Okay. What is probably the greatest detriment to wisdom in a modern age?
Technology.
Hmm?
Technology.
Acknowledging? Okay. I was thinking more on a technical level, but yes, I have to acknowledge that I need it. I have to acknowledge that.
Oh.
Do you think computers have actually helped us be better at math?
No.
They've helped us to be quicker and more accurate with math, but do you think that they help us be better at math?
I know my adding machine does.
I don't want to blow my own horn, but when somebody is trying to decide on a work site what the center of the wall is, whose name do you think they yell at the work site in Hayesville? It's 137 inches. What's the middle? What's the center?
And you can just rattle this crap off.
And I just
I
tell
don't even
them.
have to think about it, you know.
68.
I just tell them. They're writing on the walls with markers and dividing by 2, and, you know, and they'll say 180 inches. What's the center? 90. See, when I grew up, you had to know how to do math. Now the kids just need to know how to turn on the iPod. Do you think that is better for the individual, or maybe it's better for business, but is it better for the individual to not have to know how math works? And most of the time, it's real simple. I go to the, they'll say 179 inches. Well, that's 90 minus a half. 89 and a half. Isn't it? 179 inches is just 1 inch off of 180. So I just up it to 180, that's 90, subtract a half, and give them the answer, and it's like, wow. That shouldn't be wow, that should be, our kids should be able to do that. When we first came to the valley, my daughter Heather was 8 years old. And my wife was working for a flower shop over on the boulevard, and right in front of the flower shop, the man who was the husband of the owner of the flower shop had a fruit stand. And he sold fruits and vegetables out there on the boulevard from his truck garden, from his truck farm. And he asked me one day, he said, do you think your daughter would be willing to work in my vegetable stand? And I said, my daughters are 8 and 11. He said, yeah, I know. I said, which daughter are you talking about? He said, well, the young one, the 8-year-old. I said, why do you want an 8-year-old to work in your math stand? He said, she's the only one in town who can make change. Well, up to that point, she'd been in a Christian school, and it's a whole different ball game. You have to know math, and they don't even let you touch a calculator until you're like in high school. And that's a sad indictment to where we're headed. I don't think computers have helped much. I don't think televisions help much. We go up to Indy, and they're not. Our grandkids are not allowed to watch TV. If they don't soil their diaper and they put it in the right place, she'll let them watch 1/2 hour of Little Einstein. But the rest of the time, when they're up, the TV's off. You can't watch TV. I've never heard those kids say one time, I'm bored. They go outside, they climb trees, they do all kind of things. But when Little Einstein's on, it's scary. They sit there on that couch and they're hypnotized, and you can't get their attention. And it's like they've left this world, and they've been bought by the TV. And then the TV comes off, and it's like, oh, where's my tricycle? And off they go. And I don't think it's a good thing. I think wisdom calls, but I think maybe today we can't hear the voice because the TV's too loud.
I think a lot of times they're more just the laziness in people in general. We're working 10 times as hard to find an easier way to do it. We had a mess up there on the raw feeder floor at work a couple of weeks ago when we're dealing with bad material from the freeze, and me and another guy was supposed to clean it up. He wanted to get a small, one of those little walk behind skid steers up on the floor to scoop it up, rather than just going out there with a couple of wheelbarrows. And there was 2 of us, an area about as big as this basement, and we had 8 hours.
Right. Exactly right.
Bend over, break a sweat. It's not like they want it done in 45 minutes. He was going to kill half the day taking the guard down, finding a heister big enough to lift the machine up, that the framework probably wasn't going to hold up underneath it anyway.
I know.
And
90% of the learning.
no, that's the worst of it. He's one of the dumbest rednecks I've ever encountered.
But 90% of the learning is in the doing. I mean, you get the concept, you get the theory, but then you have to apply it. Like Josh said, you have to have some common sense, you have to apply it. And then when you apply it, you see how the process is fitting together, and you come to understand it. That's the second part of wisdom. Not only the achieving, but the understanding. You come to understand it, And then all of a sudden, you're on a higher level. And because you understand it, you can make it better. Or you can streamline the process, or you can make the process more efficient, or you can put a support under it that will support it, because you have experience. If you just letting the computer do it, or the vacuum cleaner do it, or whatever, letting the machines do it, you never come to the point where you can make it better. You have to understand. All right. Listen, for I have worthy things to say. Open your lips to speak what is right. My mouth speaks what is true. For my lips detest wickedness. Does Solomon's lips actually detest wickedness? Is he actually talking about two muscles when he says lips? Or is he talking about the pouring out of his mind? Okay. In his mind, he has seen all his mistakes. He's seen all his father's mistakes. He's seen, people from all over the world have come and sat at his throne to hear his wisdom. And he's seen their ignorance. And what he's saying here is, my mouth speaks what is true. My lips detest wickedness, but its actions haven't. That's what brings guilt. That's what causes guilt. When I become guilty of my sin, not when I commit it, but when I have to deal with the guilt, then I detest the wickedness because I'm seeing the result and I'm having to deal with it. I can't enjoy it anymore. I have to deal with it. When I start to deal with it, then I begin to see that bright, shiny thing that I thought was going to fix all the problems of my life was just bright and shiny. It didn't have any solutions. And then I began to detest the wickedness and look for the truth. And I guess that has to happen because what guy say one time, he said, if we didn't have wickedness, we would not recognize truth. If we didn't have something to compare it to, it would just be the status quo. If you don't have the bad side, you can't appreciate the good side. Just don't dwell on the bad side. Look at it and walk away to the good side and say, I'm glad I don't have to do that anymore. Okay. We got a whole crowd out there. I guess, well, did I talk too much? I talk too much every day.